space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission: to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilization, to boldly go where no man has gone before.
Oh, we got a time lag.
Ooh. You like
No,
it?
I accidentally clicked on the episode on my phone. That's what happened.
There we go.
I got mute on it on mine.
Greetings, salutations, and welcome to Retrek. I'm Captain Jim. With me, of course, is Admiral Elliot.
Hi there.
And Dr. Squee.
Whenever I'm thirsty, I lean for a strong bow myself. I'm hoping they'll send me a crate.
Yep.
I could just throw in a few bits. And whoever made this excellent Mexican...
I go for Sauvignon Blanc while I'm on the hair. The crispness keeps my voice alive.
And just cuts through any kind of imperfections in your vocal cords. Oh God, it's sounding brilliant.
I've just got Robinson's sugar-free, but I mean, if they want to send us some of that, that's fine, but not as exciting as what you guys have got.
So booze, me and Elliot want the booze, we made it clear. He's happy with squash down there, Captain Jim.
Yeah, that's it. Let's just send it to me. Anyway, we've got a bumper episode this episode because we're at the Sci-Fi Weekend next week. So we won't be doing our regularly scheduled episode. So we've decided to bunch everything together. So we've got 3 episodes to talk about. We've got the finale of Lower Decks.
Yeah, I was just going to say, are they also going to get next week, finally, their Galaxy Quest episode recorded from Squeefest?
Yeah, when we normally go out for Wednesday, if Dr. Squee sends me the video, I will line that up to go out at 6:30 on the YouTube channel on Wednesday, and we can also release that on the podcast.
Depends on if I've still got the video. I could probably cut it, but yeah, I'll have a look.
We'll sort it.
We will sort.
So you may or may not get an episode next week, but don't worry, we will be back the week after.
Who are going to the Weekender get a live show?
Get an exclusive live show where we're talking about when Trek goes wrong, aka the Voyager episode, The Fight. That's the one I've made all my notes on. I can easily talk for an hour on that one. So I hope you guys got some material.
I think we need to talk about this because at one stage we were doing 3 episodes. Then you said, "Oh, the people have voted for these other 3 episodes." Now you're saying that one. I'm confused. I don't know what we're covering anymore.
All I'm saying is, I've always said we're covering The Fight. I've got hours of material on it. If you guys want to jump in with other stuff,
really struggle.
I'm doing Sub Rosa.
If I've got time, I will be premiering my new Star Trek cosplay at the event.
There we go.
No,
I'm sewing.
I mean, I can't match that, but I'm doing Sub Rosa, so it's Beverly getting a ghost crush on.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is going to be
wrong with a bit of ghost crushing.
Yeah, it's
more fun.
I mean, there's only 2 examples in mainstream media that I can think of ghosts and human sex. There's the BJ scene in Ghostbusters, and that episode of Star Trek Next Generation. That's it. That's the pantheon of ghost human sex.
I can think of another, but I don't think I'll mention it on here.
No, not excluding porno.
He is the scene from Exorcist.
Yes. That's not ghost, though.
That's not ghost.
And she's doing it to herself.
But it's the same sort of thing.
No, I was very clear what I was after. I was after ghost human sex. None of this perverted possession stuff.
No, and that's it. It's a demon, not a... Anyway, let's not worry about that. So yes, we're looking at the finale of Lower Decks, which was called The Stars at Night. And then we've got the first 2 episodes of Season 1.5. It's totally not Season 2, guys. Don't call it Season 2 for legal reasons. Of Star Trek Prodigy. We're going to talk about them as well.
Yeah. Let's be honest here. The first half of Season 1 was almost a year ago. So I can't see why it isn't called Season 2.
I have no idea.
It's 10 episodes which is the format they've decided for a season as the new Star Trek going forward.
I suspect what happened is because Nickelodeon wants more content for kids, they said, right, a season order is 20 episodes. And so officially it's season 1, but they've just released it in 3 batches so far.
Do we think in
it might be a budget thing?
Season 2 part 1 and then season 2 part 2, etc., etc., etc.?
Well, we just don't know. I mean, the first time we got 5 episodes, second time we got 5. This time, who knows? But
there was another TV show. I can't remember which one, but someone was talking about this exact same thing. They said it's like, recorded all the episodes. A year later, we recorded some more, but apparently it's the same. Oh, it's Impractical Jokers. And apparently they get paid a little less if they do it that way. So there are some budgetary things they might have.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? It's weird.
Yeah.
But anyway, we won't worry about it. We're talking about 2 of the episodes.
Yeah.
So the Stars at Night, then, we had a lot of theories last week. Some of them we turned out to be right. Some of them we didn't. So we were right about Admiral Buenamigo being a Badmiral. We were right about them being behind the ship and everything like that. We were wrong about there being anything going on more with Mariner. Turns out Freeman just was being a bitch to her last week.
And also acting in a very convenient way for the plot in the way she doesn't explain things. That was bad writing then.
We did say that we'd kind of pin in it last week and see if the other shoe dropped, but it didn't drop. So all the criticisms we had last week about Freeman's behaviour were completely legitimate. So go back and listen to that if you want to hear why we thought that was really bad. But this episode in and of itself, great season finale, I thought. Really, really good fun.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it tied up a storyline. But strangely, this is the first season finale of Lower Decks that doesn't have an obvious what the first episode of season 4 is going to be.
Yeah, very true.
Where it's sort of like, because we've had that actual cliffhanger season finale for the first 2 seasons. Very old school. This tied up a season.
I like the way, though, that they are mixing that up and it's not going to become predictable like, they've done it to be continued. They're going to do that every season. I like that they've got the freedom to play around with and go, no, we're going to finish this season on a high and then...
I think there is an Easter egg in there at the end where that
with
the established character which gets mentioned. I don't want to...
Yeah, there's a post-credits scene. I meant the
other bit, the bit where it's where their funding's coming from.
Oh yes, yeah. Oh,
I think it felt like that was something setting up for something.
The same as where end of season 2, Captain Freeman got arrested. It isn't the same as season 1 where they were getting destroyed by Packlets and stuff. It's a very different season finale.
Yeah, it is.
Done it this time.
Oh, definitely. There's no.
I mean, it isn't that season that cliffhanger, but I think this is shows how confident they are in what they're doing. That they don't need to do a season finale to draw people back in anymore. The show has established itself that we can tie things up at the end of season 3. But because we know you are going to be back for season 4 for new stories, not to hear what the next part of a story that's going on.
And I'd also add that I think this really demonstrates this episode, what I've been saying all through the series. They've really concentrated on character development and, even at the expense of jokes sometimes. I mean, the jokes are thick and fast still. But if they have got a scene where they actually want to do a serious bit of character development, they might pepper in a joke here or two, but they can do that. When they first did Frasier, the spin-off from Cheers, they said that they had to not worry if there was a page without jokes. It was okay. You can have a real moment. And it's exactly the same here. That's why I think this one, they've really nailed what Lower Decks is this series. They kind of already had a very strong idea. But I think they've refined away some bits which didn't feel like Star Trek in the humor.
Yeah, they've sort of like they really know what they are.
Yeah.
So it
It
all
just so heartfelt at the end. Sorry, Jim. I didn't realize.
No, it's all right. So it all kind of pivots around the Texas Clav, like a briefing with all the admirals, which is in the briefing room from Star Trek 6, which was a nice little touch there. And they fairly quickly decide, right, we're going to scrap all the California class. Don't tell anyone, it's top secret. And then straight away, you've got Tendi coming in saying, I found out from the Romulans, Barbers, second cousins, whatever it is.
Vedic. I know Vedic's in there.
Yeah. And there's a good line where somebody, it's when Rutherford's looking at the code and he's going, this is really impressive. And like, stop being impressed with the thing that's stealing our job. And I feel like that's a little bit of social commentary dropped in there, and you can relate that to everything from the Industrial Revolution to the self-checkout counters
that was the one which sprang to my mind.
Yeah. So I like that there was a little dig there. We didn't linger on it too long, but they did drop it in. And this leads to Boimler doing impressions of the crew. Now, I don't know, is that Jack Quaid doing them voices, or have they used the voice actors? Because if it is Jack Quaid doing the voices, they were brilliant impressions. Like, he really got them.
Because the one which he does of the commander, the
Ransom.
Ransom. The one of Ransom, I couldn't tell if it was him or not, but the other ones, it sounded like there was just enough so I could hear the difference.
Yeah,
but I thought, it's one of Jerry Connell's great.
Jack Quaid.
Yeah, if it is, well done. It was a very good impression. And this really upsets Shax, and he runs off crying. Bless him. He's been through a lot as Shax.
I love Shax. He's so just so cool and strong, and I love it when he just just completely melts apart because of something.
Yeah,
his feelings are hurt. It's great.
And meanwhile, Mariner's having fun playing Indiana Jones, and she's stealing the Ferengi idol and everything. And obviously, them articles come out every week, lower decks Easter eggs, but I would be very surprised if there's anyone watching Star Trek who needed that reference pointing out to them.
But I will add to that, though, that that was obviously from Indiana Jones, which George Lucas was involved with. Obviously, he's most famous for Star Wars. It just seems a weird tangential crossing of the stream somewhere there.
Yeah,
which
you don't usually get. Star Trek commenting on.
And also, Indiana Jones is owned by Disney now, so it's like, I'd be very wary of putting anything that could be linked to Disney in any of my shows, because they'd be like, oh no, they're going to sue us.
What are you on about, James? Paramount Plus is going to crush them any day now.
Absolutely, yeah. What I particularly like about Paramount Plus, two things I like. I really like the fact that they've now brought back the continue watching feature, but that instead of taking you straight to the episode you were watching, you have to take note of it, because when you press play now, it takes you to the main menu screen for the show, and you have to go manually find your episode, which I know, hashtag first world problems, but just get it fixed. And the other thing I really like is that after I watched Prodigy this week, it decided to go straight into an episode of SpongeBob. So now I've got SpongeBob on my continue watching, and I don't know how to get rid of it.
Someone comes round. Have you got kids? No. Look, what happened was...
Because at first I thought it were a really weird post-credits scene. I was like, have Prodigy done a post-credits? This looks really strange. And then I was like, what? Why is SpongeBob on?
Is this SpongeBob crossover episode?
So Paramount Plus, we appreciate you, and you are trying. But
the actual user interface needs a bit of work.
It needs a tweak. Also, a skip credits button, please.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, we're rewatching Cheers at the minute. I'll never get tired of the Cheers intro, so that's fine. But when I'm rewatching old episodes of Star Trek, sometimes I want to skip the credits. Believe it or not, I've seen those credit sequences before. Anyway.
Also, may I call out, if anyone watching does skip the Cheers theme tunes, let me know, and we've got problems.
Yeah.
Crimes against humanity.
And yeah, this is the other thread that you alluded to them, where it's Mariner thinks that the archaeologists have been secretly funded by something nefarious, and obviously at the end we find out that it isn't. But
I thought Mariner was so going to slap her just when she said it's like, oh, silly, don't be worrying about what do you know about finances anyway? You don't have money.
Yeah, you were.
I was waiting for her to clock her one. Yeah, but she's lamped people for less, you know.
I think that's like sort of almost like a subtle arc, isn't it, that's going on, because Mariner, she's kind of got what you thought she wanted, which was to break away from it all and have total independence. But as we find out by the end of the episode, it doesn't really do, and things like that are hints of it, you know, there's little bits of friction, and she's suspects something's up and everything. So it is quite subtly done, really. And then Freeman basically challenges the Texas class to a race, a second contact race, which, okay, it's a good setup for the episode, but it does make you wonder, like, have Starfleet just gone, right, we need a race. Oh, actually, we've got these 6 planets that we've actually not done anything with that we were meaning to do something with, so we might as well let you race them.
The same planets.
I know they do. So 3 planets then. Well, but you know what I mean? Why haven't these missions been done already? Why couldn't they just save them for a special race?
Also, if they're both constructing the stuff at the same time, what, they get 2 things? Like, you know, 2 sets of radio towers and stuff?
Well,
maybe they just do half of it.
No, they've got 2 sets of everything.
Oh, well, these planets are going to be very happy then. Like, bloody Federation. We had loads of land until they came and gave us all these.
Oh, I did love the one where they've got, when they went to the planet, and it's the guy that goes like, oh, it's going to be so cool. It's going to be so cool. You know, they don't beam down with them or anything. It's like, oh, thanks, guys, that's rad. They can't hear you.
Yeah.
Like, you might just see a little speck, and that'll be the ship in orbit.
Where that was like to be fair, if it wasn't that we were doing Prodigy as well, and we were looking at episodes to link in, I'd have linked in the DS9 episode with the phasing planet. Because
we've already done it.
Have we?
Yeah, we did it. Meridian,
isn't it?
Meridian? Yeah, because there's a very, because we complained about having to do it, because the reason we did it is because there's a little log at the start that says Starfleet has decided that we can explore the Gamma Quadrant again. And that effectively, we decided, is the Federation declaring war, so they deserve everything they get from that point onwards.
Yeah.
And it's just a throwaway line in a really bad episode, but we had to cover it, so there we go.
Part of Dominion War.
Yeah. But that's where the Brigadoon planet comes from.
Yeah, we've been very in-depth in our Dominion War.
We have, to the point of covering Meridian, which you really don't need to cover Meridian. And we definitely don't cover it again. So,
and just wait until we get to the episode where it's Jake. Oh, there's too many Jake reporting on the war stories. Those bring it down for me. I like the Jake and Nog ones once he gets into Starfleet, because it's like they've got some good friction between them. But oh no! Oh, there's war happening here. I'm so sad. Like it's Jake at his worst. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they never quite got a handle on Jake, did they? So the crew, though, is incredibly motivated, but Dr. Tanner's got one of them riding crops like the guy out of Star Trek 3, which I thought was good fun. And Ransom's teaching everyone how to sit down like Riker. Even Chloe got that. We were watching it and she was like, oh, that's because Alfred sits on the chairs. I'm like, yes, it is. And then the Texas class, when it shows Admiral Buenamigo controlling it, it's the interface from the Ultimate Computer, the TOS episode.
Is it the M5?
The M5, yes. I thought that was a really nice little touch.
Really nice touch.
Nice.
And I like that he pulled out a big.
Also, the computer from Gary 7.
Yep.
And it's also from. Oh, it was used quite a lot. Was that prop?
Yeah, it was a good prop. And I like that he's got a big stogie, just randomly.
What a little girl's made of.
It might well have done, yeah. I mean, they did use it multiple times.
It was an expensive prop in the 60s. It got
yeah.
A lot. It had a few LEDs in it.
Exactly. And then
Are you calling it a slag? It sounds like you're calling it a slag. It's had quite a few LEDs in it. It has.
It was a slag. It was all over.
Look, we are not slut shaming 60s props. Come on, we're better than that.
Exactly. That's all I was saying.
So, Tendi then, she's the one really who cracks the case, isn't she? She's like, we've got to do more scans for life, and the Texas class doesn't, and that's what ultimately leads to its undoing.
I have no problem with it, but it's such an obvious setup as well. It's like, scan for life forms. Oh, there's nothing there. Don't worry, kid. It happens all the time with these planets. And she goes, but I was sure it was there. You know that's going to come back again.
Oh, it's definitely.
But she also goes, you often get this because of the transphasic radiation. It plays hell with the tricorders.
Yeah, but that's the thing, isn't it? It's the fact that there wasn't any life, but they should have done the scan anyway, and that's why you need the human element rather than
Texas class turned up and being the stuff down. Full stop.
Yeah.
It also reminds me of when she was saying about the radiation preventing them being able to scan it properly. Just so reminded me of that episode of TNG we watched the other week, and it was like they kept on blaming they couldn't scan because of the radiation, and they blamed everything on that.
Yep, well, it happens a lot. It's one of them regular things.
Transphasic radiation, it'll get you every time.
That's never a true word spoken.
And then I didn't expect the Rutherford stuff to tie in so much to this plot line. But we do get the resolution to that now. So it was Buenamigo who stole his designs, and
it was all the way through. He keeps looking at this code and he goes, "There's something about this. There's something about this." And
it's Lieutenant Commander Buenamigo, isn't it? I think.
Oh yeah, back when he's yeah.
I love to see him. Love to see him younger, and still, even though it's just an animation, just seeing the Next Generation uniforms when they usually wear it on this show, it always seems special when they wear an outfit from one of the other shows on the show. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. And it turns out he set them up not just for what happened last week, but for DS9 as well. And it has all been a plot to make the California class look bad. And I like his motivation for it, which is, well, when you get promoted to Admiral, there's not really anything else you can do. So
it's so hard to stand out.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, the way that he's spun this web for the whole Lower Decks crew for the last series, it's kind of like in James Bond in the Daniel Craig years, where they keep on tying everything together as the films go on. It's great.
I think this works slightly better than some of that did, but
I wasn't going to say that, but like we were all thinking it.
It's just, I mean, we won't spend hours on it, but it was clearly because they didn't have the rights to Spectre when they made Quantum of Solace, so they made up this new organization. But then it's sort of retconned that, they're part of Spectre. So it's like, well, why is there a secret organization within a secret organization?
Because you can never be too careful about your secret organizations. That's why.
No, obviously not. Yeah.
It's like an inception of secret organizations.
Now,
we'll ask our Oscar when he gets to tap on the shoulder.
We will, yes. Yeah, our nephew is connected.
He's going to be getting a tap on his shoulder to go work for somebody.
Or he could be. Anyway. But we will say no more.
Not told us.
We will say no more on an open channel anyway. Now, I've got a really deep cut, what I think is a deliberate visual reference, but I'm willing to accept that it's not. When it shows all of the Texas class ships lighting up and there's just a bit of red light and they come on, that reminds me of the bit in Superman 3 when Ross Webster turns on all his missiles and you see all the missiles lighting up.
I hadn't related to it until you said Superman 3 and I get it straight away.
So
I'm glad.
I missed the beginning of what you were saying. Which
so
was the
when it shows all the Texas class ships lighting up and it's just like a red light, and they come on visually, that looks very much like in Superman 3 where they arm all the warheads. And the thing that makes me think it may be deliberate is because effectively we've got the same thing here.
Do shit like that.
Because we've got in Superman 3, it's Ross Webster and he's got a silly joystick and he's controlling his missiles. And in this, it's Admiral Buenamigo and he's controlling his starships. So it's a weird ass reference.
I do love the fact that they've now got to the point where they're bringing references from other media. So it was, I think, the last couple of series, it's certainly very mainly Star Trek references. I didn't get a lot from outside. Now they've started to pepper in a few others from our youth.
But the thing is, like, if you're going to reference Superman 1 or 2, you might expect, but Superman 3, that's a deep cut.
You say this, if I was in the writing stuff, I'd be going, right, what deep cuts, weird shit can I stick in here?
Oh, yeah, so would I.
3 people
we haven't got to it yet, but there's another deep cut that I've noticed later on.
And also, can I also just point out, since we're talking about the ships, I love the fact that Elliot, where we've got the same background, it looks like it's a fleet behind us. Like it doubles up the amount. And I will admit, I just nicked the one which Elliot had put into the room because I was kind of running a bit late tonight.
Fair enough. So Mariner finds out it's Picard who's been funding the archaeologists, which makes perfect sense. We were wondering when we watched Picard, like, what does he do with all, what's going on with this? Why does he bother running a vineyard? And so clearly he's making profit off of it and funding an archaeological thing from his vineyard.
Perfect. The idea that it's because it's archaeology, of course. That's one of his main passions. So of course he's going to fund it.
Yeah, I really like that.
Yeah.
And then we get into the battle. They get the ships to chase them, and Shax finally gets to eject the warp core.
Before this, we get Rutherford realizes that it's his code, and it sort of awakens all his sort of memories.
Yeah.
He has a spark as he realizes, hold on, this is my code from years ago before my accident. I created this.
Can I also throw in just one thing also? Just came to me after we were moving off the subject, but with Picard funding the archaeology research, and you've got the woman who's with Mariner is dressed kind of like Vash was when she was going on exploring. And Picard's the link here. He got, like, obviously he's been passing on fashion tips. He's known that you have to go outside the system to get things done. The Vash connection's all over this, I'd say.
Yeah.
That'd be cool if they brought Vash back.
Oh, that'd be awesome. And
if
they
this
can
is Vash's daughter.
Oh, maybe it's not just Vash's daughter, if you know what I mean.
So it's Q's daughter.
Could be.
I get you.
Oh, it could be either.
There'll be loads of few jokes.
Yeah. Right. Why do the Texas class ships have a view screen? Because we keep seeing it from the Texas class's perspective. But why would an automated ship?
Because it's Starfleet, and it has to, even though it's automated, it has to be built ready for a crew.
Yeah, okay.
Who could man it?
I'm going to go with omniscient narrator. So the camera can go where it goes.
Yeah, okay.
I think because it's a Starfleet ship, because it's built in the same design and all that saucer engineering section to the cells. It's typical Starfleet design. And I think it has the bridge and all that, so it can be crewed.
So, yeah, they can be crewed or automated. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, a bit like what is it? From the one from Voyager when the Doctor goes back to
Pathfinder.
Alpha.
Oh, the Prometheus.
Prometheus class, where you have the ship can go automatic into 3 sections, but it's still built with a crew in mind.
I've got another sort of, it's kind of along the same lines, but it could also be if they transport people sometimes. So it doesn't mean that it's functional for making decisions, but if you've got some admirals that go somewhere, they get one of these automated ships. Yeah, they're not fulfilling a role on it, they're just getting to where they're going. So I think they're sometimes used to transport people as well. That's my theory. So it's along the same lines as Elliot's, but yeah.
Yeah, okay, I'll go with it. It's just one of them things, like, it's a cliche when you get artificial intelligence and it's got things that it wouldn't have. Like, there was an episode of The X-Files, I think it was Ghost in the Machine from season 1, where it's a building run by an AI, and it's an evil AI. But in order to show us that the AI is plotting things, it'd show, like, an empty room and a view screen had come on, and you're like, well, why does the computer need a view screen? It's not looking at it. It knows all that stuff.
Like in Knight Rider, anytime Kit was doing anything, it still used its screens that Michael looked at, even when it was an autopilot.
True.
Someone also raised the point once, it was the comedian Patton Oswalt, in every King Kong film, the thing every time they manage to do wrong is they've got this massive door just big enough for Kong to get loose, and only and a little door within. Why not just make the little door? Why make it large enough for him to escape? Why are you giving him that?
Because you have to get Kong in the first place.
Yeah, but you build it around him, don't you, when he's in a cage? Yeah, I knew someone would come up with that, but I'd say
it's
that's
a very good question.
Yeah.
So Shax and his warp core. This is great. How he's like it wraps up the arc with Boimler, because Boimler's the one who's like, no, let's listen to Shax. And just the way he's running down the corridor and everybody's cheering him on and everything.
Yeah, your idea.
It was It just the pride and joy on his face. Like, really? Seriously, you're going with one of my ideas? And it's just his idea every time.
I've been waiting to do this for years.
Tawella will ever have that he wants to eject the warp car.
I know,
and he gets to.
It's kind of taking the piss out of that thing of like that is kind of a go-to on Star Trek. It's like
it is, yeah.
It's like options, isn't it? And it's like and even Freeman goes. He always says eject the warp car. Whatever's happening. Yeah,
and I feel like it's a bit of a dig at the thing that Worf's ideas are always turned down as well. So it's your security chief, and they finally agree with one of his ideas.
I didn't think about that. You're totally so right. Yeah, because Worf gets agreed with like twice in 7 years.
Yeah, there's great video. Like if you look them up on YouTube, there's these brilliant videos where it's just Worf getting told over and over and over and over. And then, we get a really rousing finale then. So Mara turns up to the day and she brings all the California class ships.
Oh, that's the bit. Oh, it's when it's like when he starts reading out all the names and you see them all appear.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
I've watched it twice, and twice it's got me tearing up that moment. It's
like Mariner turns up and Freeman goes, "Get out of here," and she goes, "It's okay. I brought help," and the first one comes out, and Freeman goes, "One Cali class isn't enough to take on a Texas class. It'll get destroyed." Yeah, no, that's why I brought them all.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's when
it's really, really good.
At speed naming all the places and they just all appear. And it genuinely feels just like any of those big kind of Armada scenes in Star Trek.
It does, but it just feels like this is so great. There's so many of them.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
It's so heartwarming at the same time. And I love the fact that when you see on all the ships, they get to have some fun. So like, in one of them, it just looks like them, but as flies.
Well, we've seen that crew before.
One at a time, please. Tell me
a callback to an earlier episode, isn't it? And I can't remember which one of them.
No, I can't, but we have seen that crew.
And I'll be honest, I've had things going on this week. I've not had time to check back like I would normally.
But it's great.
I also love the one which it's all the what are the blue people called?
The Bolians.
Bolians. And he's going like ready to kick some ass. Like just these
Yeah.
little
And
cliche
he's got the
lines.
Riker stand straight away on the chair.
Yeah, he stood up on the chair. Yeah.
But it just makes you think of all those times where you've got like different people coming with their different cliched lines and everything.
Well, this reminded me of the TNG episodes, the one where Worf's going through the different dimensions.
Yes.
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
parallel.
And you have all the Enterprises show up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Very similar visually. Yeah. So it all wraps up then, and this Vulcan character gets introduced. Now, again, I've not had a chance to go back and check, but is this one of the Vulcans from that episode where they had a Vulcan crew?
I thought to begin with, but she doesn't seem to recognize her or doesn't.
No,
mention it.
maybe
So
not.
I don't think it is because that was my first thought.
That's what I thought, but
I've not had a chance to go back.
no. So we'll check that out. But that was my first thought. And Mariner and Freeman do have a chat, and I feel like Mariner is way too gracious here. Like, I mean, it's good that she wants to make it up, but she immediately says, like, "Oh no, I give you loads of reasons to not trust me," and everything. It's like, I get that you want to make up with her, but you'd be entitled to be a bit of a better apology than that.
Yeah,
I was the same way when I
did
first watched it,
notice
but when I second watched it, I did feel that it was almost like the satisfying thing in the moment would be for her to react like, "Oh, come on, you did treat me pretty shit." But the bigger thing, which they went with, was the idea that she's grown, that she's all the way through the last three series, she's never deviated from that kind of feeling of being entitled.
Yeah.
I don't know if
And
you
then she
noticed
just
with
thinks
all
she's
this,
wrong.
though. She's doing all the getting back with Tandy and Boimler, and Boimler goes, "Look, I'm sorry, I didn't trust you and all that." And she goes, "Look, no, I think I can understand why you did this, and I'm not going to give you that time." But she ignores Jennifer.
Yeah.
Jennifer sat there and she walked straight past her.
That one I think is worse.
She's the one that she's hurt that didn't trust her. That should have.
I think over a time with her friends, she, like she said, she has done some stuff which has led them to perhaps think the worst of her in these circumstances. So, like, they've got that. She doesn't have any of that. She just treated her like shit. She'd done nothing but kind of trying to grow through their relationship. So I could get why she'd be mad at her and not at the rest of them. I also love the fact that it was like when Boyner was going, it's like when Boyner got called a baby bear by
You're part of the bear pack now.
Oh, that was so sweet.
And Boyner's there. Are you now my bridge buddy?
Yeah, baby bear.
Yeah, so hopefully we've got all of that to look forward to next season. The post-cresting then.
Now,
the return.
Who like me used to watch Knight Rider a lot?
Yeah, I've seen a few Knight Riders in my time.
Did this remind you of the Car episodes when Car gets destroyed?
Oh, yeah.
And then you just have Car flashes at the end.
Yeah.
I have seen the post-credit, but I only watched it the first time. I forgot about it this time watching it back. Can you remind me what happens in the bit?
The post-credit is Badgie.
Badgie, sort of from the Texas class that's blown up, you have it comes off and there's a little bit of computer and Badgie flashes on it.
Yeah.
As human personality, which I think is going to link into like the evil computer depository somewhere. Like
there's
absolutely no reason for the evil computer depository without it becoming a major storyline.
Oh, no, they've got to go with that.
Come back. I thought it might have come back with a sort of buddy thing between the Jeffrey Combs one and the other one from Peanut Butter Hamper.
Yeah.
But now we've seen this. It's too much of a coincidence that you get this, and then
it's definitely building to life.
AI evil computer with Badgie survived somehow.
Exactly, we're building.
It cannot be coincidence. No.
We're building to a coalition of evil computers, aren't we? So I'm looking forward to that.
And I'm in.
Right, so we better crack on because we've got 2 episodes of Prodigy to talk about.
It's all right.
And
Got more cans of cider. We're good.
We're good.
Yeah.
The first one up then is Asylum. And we start with like this underwater adventure where they're saving a whale, which I thought's a nice throwback to Step 4. But also they're in this like submarine vehicle, which reminded me of the jellyfish ship of Spock in Star Trek 2009.
Yeah,
like design wise.
The Phantom Menace.
Oh yeah, the bongo.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
well, we can ask
bad.
Brian Blessed about it again.
Yeah. You don't want to be reminded of the Phantom Menace if it's at all avoidable.
Submarine. Okay, shall we go with the Voyager episode where they're on the water planet?
Yeah, and also the aliens swimming about looked a little bit like the trailers for the upcoming Avatar 2 as well.
Yeah.
So maybe they've preempted James Cameron
very
here.
much like Sea Monkeys.
Yeah.
How they looked in the comics of what you'd buy, not of what you actually got, but what you advertised you were getting.
I mean, I also did. Sorry, just because we're on the subject of whales, there's a line later on which Janeway says about, it's easier than catching a space whale. It's like, is that easy? I mean, like, I don't think we've really seen space whales that much in Star Trek, but
they caught it pretty easily. They just kind of beamed it up.
Yeah, just say.
Yeah, they had to get swallowed.
True, yeah. And running throughout the episode, then we've got that Gwen's starting to remember things. Obviously, by the end of the episode, we get the big reveal of she remembers about the virus. A little bit too late, but never mind. And they arrive at DS13, and you've got this guy on his own. And it's a shame he didn't have a parrot alarm clock.
Yeah, I wish they made him the same guy, and then how? It's left up to our imaginations how he's in both time zones. I'd like him to be just this immortal guy.
If it was Lower Decks, I think they would have.
Yeah, just made him look the same.
Isn't like that. Prodigy isn't that sort of humor.
You're right.
No.
You're right. I'm always. I think I just like a guy on a space station on his own. There's something about this setup which I find very enticing. This guy was great as well, and it's just they managed to play the same joke twice, but from both sides. So it's like, oh, don't worry, we'll definitely have you on. Oh, no match found. And then they do the other way around. It's like, oh yeah, but you're never going to find me on this system. Yeah, we've got a match. It's the same joke, and it works both times. Genius.
And that's cool. It's adding layers to everything because they want to go back to Starfleet anyway, so they want to join it. But we've got the fact that they can't because of this weapon on the ship. But now to that is, but Starfleet knows who Dal is, so they've given them a personal motivation to want it as well.
When he goes through it, it doesn't tell him what species he is. It just says contact Starfleet.
And the other thing
it.
The other thing which did annoy me though, look, if this was Lower Decks, I'd say fair enough. But when the guy goes, I don't want to do the paperwork, I'll just put you down as other. And it's just,
none of the above or whatever.
You're fucking Starfleet. Buck up your game, mate. I know you're there on your Starfleet, on your space station.
Well, I think that's what it is. It's because he's on his own that he just can't be asked anymore.
That's it. I think.
I'm sorry. I want that man on report.
And he even does allude to the fact that it's affected his mentality.
Look,
being on his own.
If it's not Lower Decks, I want a moral reckoning for his laziness. I want him to be at least reported for this.
I think that is a thing though, that not just in Lower Decks and Prodigy, but like with the guy with the parrot in Discovery of it, like we are starting to see that when you're not on the feed hero ships in the main series, there are some people in Starfleet who just phone it in a little bit. They're not all the greatest people in the world.
When you said that, did you just list the guy with a parallel clock? Because he was bloody dedicated. He was.
You're right. Sorry.
Why is one person posted on this space station?
Don't know.
And he does allude to the fact that it is affecting him mentally being on his own for so long. And surely Starfleet should realise that.
In that case, by the end of the
done
episode, I
something
want
about
Starfleet
it.
Medical to be talking to him. And yeah, I mean, and it was a bit callous when he said it's is there room in the escape pod? Not for saboteurs.
Yeah.
So that, again, that didn't seem very Starfleet to me.
Yeah, maybe that's the thing. Maybe this guy's just a bit of an arsehole, and that's why they've put him out on his own.
Then he needs to be out of Starfleet. That's
what species is he?
I'm not sure.
Because I thought first Kardashian and then I'm not seeing. You know, because of the face ridges going right round.
I thought it reminded me a little bit of Dr. Phlox, but not quite. So, yeah, not sure.
I'm just saying, when I first joined the academy as a cadet, we had better standards back then than this.
Yeah.
But I do think it's very strange that he's out on a deep space station on his own.
It is a bit strange.
I mean, genuinely, it might be that all this is, there is something that they'll pay off with this. I don't think so. I get the feeling it's just meant to be the
maybe it's from
to go after them, but
just from a plotting kind point of view. You need to manufacture the situation where our crew are stuck on the station, so you need to only have one escape pod. So if we had a big crew, there'd be more escape pods. So for convenience sake, it's easier to manufacture this situation.
Also, maybe the fact they've made him less sympathetic character is meant to be so that when the space station blows up, we don't go, well, yeah, I mean, okay, there was no one else on board who got harmed, which I thought was the primary reason why there was only one person thing. Because otherwise you've got then the moral implication of them killing people not on purpose, but that's too much to get on them. But yeah, I think it's so basically when the station, they want to make sure when that station blows up, we don't feel bad about our protagonist.
Yeah,
yeah,
they've not actually killed anybody.
And also, he was a bit of a dick, so it's okay, kind of. I think logic plays.
Well, he didn't get killed in it, so he escape podded it out.
He escape podded out, but you don't feel sorry for him that his station just got blown up.
No, you don't. You're right. So we get a holodeck flashback then, Janeway, to Chakotay first going off on the mission and everything, and that just sort of reintroduces it and lets us know Janeway's still looking into. I talked to Elliot about this the other day. I'm still not clear on how does Janeway's ship have a protostar drive as well then?
No,
because she gets to the Delta Quadrant really quickly.
She's got slipstream.
And her ship was ugly. I mean, that was an ugly ship.
She's basically got the Prometheus that we saw in Voyager that we know was an alien ship that got assimilated by the Borg.
Right. Okay. So they've actually made a real one.
Yeah.
But then that raises the question of why.
I'm going to say, because we covered it in one of the Time episodes, where they did make the slipstream drive for Voyager. Based on scans and everything that they've done of that.
Yeah, they did.
So I think that what they've done is Voyager has managed to do full scans, but the actual structuring of Voyager couldn't work through slipstream. And they've now built the Prometheus that works. And they know how the engine works.
It didn't look like I remember it didn't look like I remember the Prometheus looking. I remember that being quite a sleek. This looked a bit weird and ugly.
It's a bit elongated and a bit fatter and stuff.
Gangly.
But it is very similar to the shape of what Voyager saw, of how he projected it to be a Starfleet ship. So I think they've used the Voyager scans to build a Prometheus class ship, and for reasons they've decided to give it the same name that the Alien give it.
But then, if that's the case, and this technology's
Yeah.
So why do they not have this technology in Picard or in the future bits in Discovery then, if this is so readily available?
Well, I think that what you've got is the Protostar was an experimental ship, and the Prometheus is also an experimental
Right,
ship.
okay.
The one-off ships.
Okay.
Have
And
like the fleet that can go to Delta Quadrant. The Protostar did it, and then because Chakotay's gone missing, and we're imagining that there's actually quite a few years passed since Chakotay vanished.
True.
And Janeway spent her time between Chakotay vanishing in the Protostar to now of having Voyager's records of the slipstream ship built into a real working ship to go find him.
I honestly, I think
Admiral Clout.
Yeah.
I think what they're going to do is, I think they're going to basically, they are going to tell us basically what's happened with this ship and what its deal is.
But this is my headcanon at the moment.
Yeah. No, I get that, and
I think the headcanon fits.
Yeah, I think there's going to be some sort of reasoning around. There's usually an excuse of scarcity of something they've got to use to power it, or to, like, in Discovery, there's only one drive that does what they do, and they can't replicate it.
That the Protostar is probably powered by some form of actual collapsing star that they managed to capture.
Yeah, exactly.
That seems to be the case.
The same thing with what I meant was it was with the.
There's going to be a reason why you can't duplicate the slipstream drive readily.
That was my kind of assumption as well. The other thing I'd like to address very quickly around this scene. First time we've seen Chakotay in many years. I know you guys have got your individual kind of problems with Chakotay and with Voyager, but I just want to check: was it just me, or has his voice got 20% more sexy? I swear, it's a deeper, gruffer. It's obviously him, but it just. I was getting 20%.
I think you just like the fact of going spirit walking with him.
Well, obviously that's always a pleasure, but it's just his voice has got deeper. It's definitely something.
Yeah, I mean, he's 20 years older, so.
No, it's got like one of those voices. Which would be great for audiobooks now.
I've never considered Chakotay sexy, but if you consider Chakotay sexy, I have no problem with that.
A lot of people did. After season 1, he proved extremely popular with the ladies, which is why season 2 has so many Chakotay episodes.
I'm not like a perfectly sexy man. My point was, though, 20% more sexy. So it doesn't matter where you start. I'm saying 20% more than whatever you felt before. I'm just saying if wherever you were starting from, if he became 20% more sexy.
All I'm going to say is Janeway preferred the monkey.
I'm just saying, his voice just, hey
that's
Janeway,
another episode.
The only way I do it was if I could have you with me.
We covered that episode, I believe.
Well, we can talk about it in When Trek Goes Wrong, because that one is definitely worth a revisit.
Have I missed a scene where Janeway fucks a monkey?
Well, it's implied.
Because it's a PG episode, so you wouldn't see that.
Because I may be asking, but I'm really only interested in the ghost human thing. I just want to emphasize that.
Well, that's it. We've got a lot of weird stuff to talk about. So we do get an action scene at the end of the episode, though. But again, it ties it into character, because you've got this thing of Rock, and she's trying to work out what type of scientist she wants to be. And I love, like, the innocence of Rock, like the fact where they go, what scientist do you want to be? Like, there's more than one type of science.
Oh, that was so beautiful. I genuinely think these are the kind of characters who are going to inspire young people. There's so many instances of people saying they're inspired by Star Trek. When she said that, and it's like, I know it sounds really obvious to us, but Jesus, kids growing up don't know there's so many types of science and everything. That's opening their minds to the fact that they first of all told them that science is cool and why it's cool. And now they're going, hey, do you know there's loads of types of science? Like, loads of kids at home will be the same as Rock going,
and
no, there's loads of this.
And this episode shows you as well, look, you can find out what you're interested in and what you're good at. Like, and so Rock does have a go at it and gets it nearly right, that she nearly gets them to the ship. But then it's like, oh, maybe that type of science isn't the one for me. But so I'm looking where this, if she's going to explore
what I
different
like-
you know,
types of
it's going to be a
science.
science
What
week.
I
I
like
like
is
to
that
think.
she's visualizing the stuff that you can see that she does science, but she's maybe not quite accurate with that one.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
I would love it if it was every week. It was a different science she's trying out, which helps.
yeah,
the mission.
and it's like,
I'd be
oh,
more
and then
than happy with that.
eventually
And then once
she'll
you've
find the
got to know
right
it.
one, and it'll be the one that she wants to go for.
I'm there for that.
And eventually, then, so Gwyn, meanwhile, is getting drowned and manages to escape
Don't you
using
think this is quite dark for a kids thing?
Yeah.
That she's getting drowned, because this is a kids show allegedly. Like I'm loving
The
Prodigy,
family show,
and
I'd say.
I'm loving Prodigy. I think it's a great show, but this is meant to be a kids show, and I can see how it's a kids show in parts. But this way, Gwen is clearly drowning.
Yeah,
it's sort of like that is really dark.
For me, they need to stop calling it a kid show and call it what it is, which is exactly what the original series was, a family show. It wasn't just for kids. It was for families to watch together. And when you've got parents watching with a young kid who might get worried about that, they can have a conversation. It can spark debate. It can spark them being aware of something which would be really difficult to explain to a kid, of someone being in peril in that way. I think it's just wonderful. But they don't. It's a mistake to call it a kid show. It's as adult as the original series was.
I would agree.
100%.
And so Gwyn remembers, and they now know that it's a weapon, and you get that moment of, oh, well, I guess we're not going back to Starfleet. Meanwhile, real Janeway, finds the Diviner. Now, I'll admit here, they got me completely. I thought the Diviner's story arc were done at the end of the last half season, but evidently not, as we find out at the end of this episode, and we expand upon next episode. But I was genuinely surprised.
Why don't we have slipstream drives in Picard, etc.? Does the Diviner get the Prometheus?
Maybe, but surely they'd have the plans somewhere for it.
Well, you
think about Discovery.
To do again, if you're going to meet aliens that are going to take it.
Maybe that's
another Discovery where it ends up being destroyed with no one having any
super classified.
Yeah, exactly. Just before we finish talking about this episode, though, just to have a shout out for Jacob. I love when he finds out that his race was one of the founding members of Starfleet. How self-important he gets through the rest of the episode. He is just so funny. It's a guy called Jason Mantzoukas who plays him.
Yeah.
And he does a podcast. If anyone hasn't listened to it before, give it a go. It's called How Did This Get Made? And it's about films.
Oh, yeah, it's good.
Ridiculous. There's a great part with Jacob where he's there and they're getting the hot dogs. But then when the station starts to sort of go haywire, and it's got the hot dog slightly toasted and starts throwing them, and it's there, unlimited food.
Yeah, this is a human delicacy, hot dogs. Just a fun fact. Sorry if I've mentioned this before on the show, but I mentioned Jason Mantzoukas is on this. He's in How Did This Get Made? There's another guy on there who plays the engineer in Lower Decks, and the third host. His name also escaping me. She in Lower Decks, she's married to the guy who's the engineer, and she in Lower Decks was the princess, I think, from the Sex Planet, or what?
So one of the practically,
she was in one episode. So the whole of that podcast is in the Star Trek universe.
It's practically a Star Trek podcast. So yeah,
just a little fun fact.
So the next episode, then
I'll be back in 30 seconds, guys.
Okay. So the next episode, then, Let Sleeping Borg Lie. So we get the Borg again, which, again, for a allegedly children's show, the Borg are pretty scary. And I'm surprised that we brought them in quickly as we did and didn't really they didn't really tone them down for a kids
No.
show.
Do you know what? The only bit which I felt was a little bit BS, the only thing which didn't feel like to the canon of the Borg was, even though they have Janeway literally saying, it's like, if you don't look like a threat, they will ignore you.
Mm-hmm.
And they've got, when they're walking along, there's a Borg which looks back at them, just one Borg.
Yeah, that was weird.
If they're not meant to see you as the threat, they wouldn't look at you. In every other version, it's just they've straight up ignored and walked past people. Which
Yeah,
they did
like
in the rest of this episode.
We've never had that before, have we? Where, yeah, it's almost like it's looking at them suspiciously, and like you said, it's clearly there to raise the tension, but
makes no sense.
It makes no sense whatsoever. So,
I mean, you also throw in the fact that what was I going to say? Oh yeah, I mean, it does make sense. There's only, if they weren't going to look back, it makes sense. There's only one Borg looking back, because you only need one Borg to look back. But there is no reason why. Yeah, he slows down and gives a look. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that was a weird moment.
I only mention it because everything else is perfect to the Borg.
Yeah, generally, I think
where the one Borg looks back doesn't make any sense. But apart from that, it's flawless, Elliot, for the Borg.
Yeah. And again, this seems to be a thing we're doing in Prodigy now, because we start with one of these flashbacks, but it's not a flashback, it's actually a holodeck recreation. So we did that last episode with Janeway, and we do it again here. But it was nice to be reminded of what's going on and everything, because I know it's only technically a mid-season break, but it feels like it was last season that we found out the Diviner's plan and everything.
A year ago.
That is kind of what it feels like. So I'm glad that we did this flashback holodeck thing and everything. And that leads to them searching the ship, and it turns out there's a secret subdeck that evidently the Diviner's built.
And that's got to be a good bit of software, because it's got to have a holodeck Janeway reconfiguring everything in her head in the ship to believe there's either nothing there or you put some wiring or whatever. Yeah. That's got to really play about with her software.
Yeah,
not to recognize it.
It reminded me a little bit of that Babylon 5 episode where they just discover that there's a hidden level to the station that they didn't know about before.
Yeah, I know the exact one. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, I know what you mean as well.
Yeah. And the weapon, it turns out, is alive. And we get some quite cool effects, like where they try and phaser it and it moves to avoid it and everything. So this is obviously going to be an ongoing thread of the show, is can we get rid of the weapon? And this episode, the Borg apparent.
We need to avoid Starfleet.
Yeah.
Because we've got this on board.
And the Borg evidently think we can get rid of the weapon, or that seems to be the Borg's conclusion at the end of this episode. But
I do love the fact that at one moment they actually get you convinced that they might be able to do a deal with the Borg. That I thought was a really nice bit before the Borg, show their true colors. But it was just a nice moment where you start to question: is he actually going to get through to them? Because they're manipulating for whatever reason. Then you find out they can.
What I found interesting was they comes up with this theory of, well, hang on, if they can simulate things and maybe they can disable this weapon. And this shows that Holo Janeway is not as close to real Janeway as we thought, because she's like, no, you can't do deals with the Borg. Wait. Hang on a minute, Janeway. Yeah. How many times did you do something like this?
Oh, can we also throw in? Sorry, it's something I should have said with the Chakotay scene, where you've got bridge hologram Janeway, Admiral Janeway, with it's Captain Chakotay or any Starfleet captain. What exact function do you think that hologram plays? Because you can use it as a visor, but do you want to have someone who basically doesn't outrank you because they're a hologram, but doesn't rank because they're an admiral, second guessing your decisions? Or
I don't think Chakotay did. In my head canon, because I don't like Chakotay.
Well, we talked about...
No, but generally, let's talk about the function of it.
Yeah.
We talked about this in part 1 of season 1, didn't we? That what we think's happened is Chakotay was stuck under Janeway's thumb, and now he's become a captain. She sent her own hologram to keep
I
him
know
under
that,
her
I know
thumb.
that, but they've established that it isn't her who sent it, that they're fitted to these ships. They basically they don't quite say they're fitted to the ships, but it's heavily implied from the way they say it.
I think it's specific to this mission. I think Starfleet wanted Janeway because of a knowledge of the Delta Quadrant, and she said no. So they were like, our next best thing, send Chakotay with a hologram of Janeway.
I see that. Okay, yeah, no, fair enough then. But because otherwise, just having an admiral who outranks you, but who's a hologram,
Yeah,
it's very messy. If you're a captain on a ship, you'd feel so undermined by them.
I think it's just this specifically, but
Got you.
We
fair.
think it's just because it's Chakotay.
yeah.
Well, yeah, but no, it makes sense. It would make sense that if, on this one mission, a hologram can outrank you because she's the expert in the area, and
I'm not sure if she'll outrank him in terms of making decisions on the ship, but I think it's they wanted Janeway's expertise there, and that's the next best thing.
That throws out my original thing then.
Can I
If she's just an advisory capacity, she shouldn't be on the bridge. She should be in his ready room or in the holodeck.
No, fair enough. Yeah.
Otherwise, you'd be undermined if they said something which disagreed with you in front of the crew, or if you ignored their suggestion.
We are talking about Chakotay, so I think it's right that he has someone there that can make better decisions.
Look, we're taking your hair, Chakotay, out of this. I've said this
Look,
once.
no, but it's not just us that hates Chakotay. It's all of Starfleet.
All I'm saying is, Jesus. This is brutal. But I just...
He did betray Starfleet and join the Marquis. So
they were rubbish at that.
They've had to send a superior officer hologram in case he fucks up again.
Yeah, it's like, okay, we'll let Chakotay pretend he's the captain, but really... And they probably sent an email out to the whole crew saying... If Chakotay gives you an order, just pretend you're going to always check with hologram Janeway just in case.
You guys are evil. I'm sitting there.
Anyway, we don't know yet. Maybe we'll get the answer.
To something else we said, because I just want to say, like you said that hologram Janeway says that you can't negotiate with the Borg. And she's actually right, because Janeway did try negotiating the Borg. She thought she'd made deals, but then they reneged on them.
True.
So she's right that you can't, under no circumstances, even when the Borg were facing their ultimate destruction and made a deal to save themselves, they reneged on the deal in the end and tried to assimilate them.
I guess it's kind of like learn from my mistakes, or even once Janeway kind of cheated it by him. But mind you, she did cheat it in one episode, because she managed to, in the last episode, she managed to sacrifice older her so young her could get home.
Yeah,
kind of cheating it.
Again, it was that you can't actually make a real deal with the Borg. They will always renege on it and go against you. Like we had it with Species, because the first real time of a deal is in Scorpion. And it's Species 8472 are going to wipe out the Borg. Janeway works out how she can save them. All she wants is to get past their space, safe passage, nothing else, and she'll give them this. They agree to it. As soon as they've done something to beat Species 8472, they renege on the deal that they'll assimilate them.
No, that's a fair point.
So she's right that as hologram Janeway, she's right to say you cannot negotiate with the Borg.
Yeah, though do as I say, not as I do, because Janeway would have totally sneaked onto a Borg ship to try and find out the answer, but...
Also, how much of Starfleet gone and tweak this hologram?
She's right.
Yeah. No, she is,
Also, this hologram's been designed by Starfleet, so even though it's got Janeway's mind, you don't know how much they've tweaked it. They've gone to say, oh, yeah, well, maybe dial down the bit of her that likes to do deals with the Borg.
Yeah, calm her down a little bit. And then real Janeway then's been told she has to drink tea instead of coffee, which I thought was a nice a nice little scene because she orders tea, and you think, wait a minute, Janeway doesn't order tea.
Oh,
And
mind
then
you,
they
it
do-
plays into canon because when you get old Janeway, she said I had to give up coffee because the doctors were advising it, and then she has and goes, "Oh, I don't know why I ever gave this up."
I can appreciate this because I had to cut out all sorts because I was borderline high blood pressure, but I didn't tell my doctor how much coffee I drink.
Elliot, I have made it very clear what my policy is on any more members of this podcast dying for any period of time. Don't do it. Did you learn nothing from James?
To be fair, I don't drink as much coffee as I did, but
There you go. You
I
see,
made
he's
a
learning.
point of not telling my doctor how much coffee I did drink at the time because I am not giving up coffee.
Well, you might have to, like Janeway, but
I don't care if it's
so
like
the
5
main-
minutes or 5 hours. Don't do it.
the main thing that's going on with real Janeway then is with the diviner, and I like the way they're setting this up because he wakes up and he says they took my daughter, and so there's like dramatic irony to it because you can see that real Janeway's gonna sympathize with him and believe what he's saying because that's what Starfleet do. But also, you've got this thing that we're going, no. Technically, they did take his daughter, but that he's the baddie. Don't fall for it.
Yeah.
So I'm enjoying all of that, and they're obviously going to play this out over numerous episodes. That's how the episode finishes: is the diviner waking up. So that that's obviously going to be a thread. But I'm liking, even though we've had very minimal scenes of it so far.
I did like to get the diviner to wake up. It was Jensen who came up with the idea. And the doctor goes, "Oh, where to go to get yourself in motion?" And I was thinking, no. As an ensign coming up with great ideas and doing brilliantly, you have no chance of being promoted under Janeway.
No, not with Janeway. Not a chance.
And I just wondered if, like, the doctor making this commentary, carry on for your promotion, ensign, doing this.
Yeah, it's maybe a
dig at the whole Voyager.
I did like the fact they had the diviner waking up. Like if they're going down the idea that he's then going to charm them around and pretend like he's a victim and all that, fair enough. If they tried to do him waking up and then going on the loose, if this is one of those episodes where all they had to do is basically be alerted when someone wakes up, why they don't build this into this technology around sickbay? Because every time the person wakes up and just goes on a wander and they can't.
Yeah, it's true.
Just add a little alarm to the.
And they've got access to every single computer system on the ship.
Yeah.
From the first pad that they took.
Why would you not have that just going to the doctor's communicator going, awake, bay 5?
Yeah, I mean, you can't get out of bed in a real hospital without a nurse running up and going, no. So
unless you're looking for a nurse, grrr.
Yeah, that's the other thing, unless you're being sick or something. Yes, I remember that when I was in hospital. It was the first time they had me eat solid food, and I've never been. All I had was like the tiniest little bit of omelette, but I've never been that sick in my life. And I'm pressing the nurse's button. And I'm like, "Can you please get me some?" And that's the only time they don't turn up is when you actually need it. But
sorry, when you said that, I just got the darkest joke. You go, it's like, I remember when I was in the hospital. I just want to say, how you were asleep in a coma.
Yeah, no, it was after that.
My dad for 45 minutes yesterday.
Did they?
And they left him for several hours when we were in A&E when he'd asked for something.
Oh, God, yeah. And with my dad, when he was, again, this sounds pretty dark, but it was when he was in hospital with cancer, which sadly took him. But it's when he fell asleep. And they will go by and they'll kind of all hours and sort of like go by your bed and wake you up for something or other. But they don't want to wake him up to offer him meds. And he's going, you can wake me up for that. It's okay. Like, but then they wrote it down as refused or, declined. Instead of waking him up, because it's like, well, we can't ask him.
But it's like, but you'll let me up to do to check my blood pressure for the 19th time. Anyway, So back to the episode then. The main thing really is this: they need someone to speak to the collective, and Zero volunteers. You get this trippy kind of mindscape of Zero floating around, and visually represents it as the Borg sort of enveloping them and then being cast off and everything. I really like how they've approached it visually.
I love the fact they melded it in as well with the whole thing of him kind of trying to strive for his identity, because it's like, you know, and the guilt of having caused all that harm when he wasn't himself. So it's almost like they played on that guilt to take over his mind, and it's when his friends bring him back. Like, I think that was a kind of just beautiful, very Star Trek kind of moment.
Yeah, and that, like we talked at the start about how there was the weird Borg who looked back at them, and that was a bit sort of out of place. And I think if we're being hyper picky,
we've seen that previously.
Well,
where Borg
just
look at them and then
no, but it's not a look back at them. It's kind of like moving around them almost then, or anything I'm thinking of. I can't think of a direct example of when they walk past and just had a look back at them to check. That goes against them ignoring them when they're not a threat.
Yeah.
It's like usually if they look at them, it's almost like, oh, I've got to walk around you. It's like you're
Mind you, I wonder if this is something to do with the pathogen that's attacked the Borg on this ship.
It could be, yeah. Because they
Explain
do sort
away
of say
when they weren't connected at first, were they?
no, that's it. They do.
I was just going to say, with Prodigy, as with Lower Decks, they are very clever. You know, sometimes I like it when they set something up that you think is a flaw, but it turns out they've thought it through.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if there's a plan with that, fair enough. But if not, it doesn't make any sense to the Borg.
What I was going to say about Zero is that maybe this is a concession to it being a 25-minute animated show rather than a 45-minute live-action show. Maybe it's a concession to it being skewed to a slightly younger audience, but Zero sort of getting assimilated, fighting out of the assimilation, I feel like that's very condensed compared to how we've seen that kind of thing happen in the past.
Mind you, we've never had something which... We've also never had it when it's an episode where it says, species, like the Medusan. Like
that's it.
That's makeup, so you can kind of play around with the fact that
you can
break the programming quicker. You know,
you can headcanon it and say, you know, they weren't fully assimilated.
Don't canon it. You can whack that into the show. You know, it's
it wasn't actually implanted with nanoprobes like that.
No, true.
It's not like
actually
subconscious within the computer that they were.
That's a really good point, because that was my other.
Yeah, that is.
Sorry, I forgot that was my other problem as well with the way the Borg were. Why they take them away to be strapped to a machine to then be assimilated by their mate? Like it. Why didn't they just do the nanoprobes like they do now?
I don't think they could. Maybe with a Medusan.
No, not with a Medusan. Sorry, with the rest of the crew, as opposed to just assimilating them straight away with nanobots. They take them away to be assimilated, which has been long since done away.
Because if they'd have just done the nanotubules thing, that'd have been the end of the episode.
Exactly. But in episode,
the Borg have been attacked by a pathogen that has rendered them inert, and they're just coming round, and their individual tubules aren't working, so they need to take.
There we go.
Elliot, I think your head actually expanded with that headcanon as you were saying it. I think it just grew 3 times, 3 sizes that day.
Like the Grinch, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, there are these things that if we're being...
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But there are these things that if we're being hyper picky, we can pick at. But
I
think that was a personalized rocket launcher.
We've got to look at Prodigy, that it fits in the Star Trek universe. It's a shorter show. It's aimed at a younger audience, so you're not going to get some of the things that you get in a normal episode.
No, I agree.
It needs targeting that. It's a family show, not... And, to be fair, the reviews of it, people watch it as a family with the kids.
Yeah. All I'm asking...
It needs to be advertised that it's a family show, not a children's show.
All I'd add to that is that I think that all I want is one of those great one-line explanations they just throw in. oh, the ship was so low on power, that's why it wasn't such a threat. That's why they couldn't use their nanotubes because that was affected
They
by
couldn't use the
systems
nanotubes
failure.
because of the being hit by the pathogen and they weren't working.
Right. Throw that line in. I just want to like they could so
Yeah, that's
They
it.
did my
around it.
head.
That's what I mean. You could do it in 3 seconds. We can headcanon these things sometimes so easily. You'd think the writers could throw in a line for the because I know it's aimed at kids mainly, you know, even though it's a family show, but they know there's going to be nerds watching. Like, just give us a throwaway line.
Absolutely. Maybe it's because they're aware of how many Star Trek podcasts there are, and they're just like, we've got to give them something. We can't just make a great episode with no problems because
is an awesome headcanon.
Yeah, it's come on. These poor guys are going to be on there just saying the Borg are great. Really consistent presentation of the Borg, and that's it. We can only talk about the episode for 5 minutes. So they're throwing us a bone.
That Captain James, he seems quite affable, but that fucking Squee Elliot, for Christ's sake, just shut him up. Just throw it out there. That'll keep them busy.
But yeah, so the episode ends. Then the Borg think that the weapon can't be removed or disabled. So, which is a bit disheartening, but look, at the end of the day, the Borg are not the only technologically advanced species in the world, and we've got the Diviner away.
Also,
yeah, the Diviner's back, and his species made it, so there could still be hope.
I would suggest as well the fact that the Borg. I'm trying to remember exactly how they're wording it, but I don't think they worded it that they out couldn't remove. It's just like, oh, it would be difficult to remove, so we'll just assimilate them. That's go through is to assimilate them. I think they're being too lazy. I think they could think of a solution, but they're not invested to because their solution is just
thinking.
And we've already had it.
Why would we have eliminate them? Why would we want to remove?
More to the point, why would we have a secondary approach? Assimilating is always our approach. We'll do that, and then we'll it.
The other thing is we've had it established in previous episodes that the Borg are extremely powerful, but they only learn by assimilation. They're not creative. So if it is a problem they've not encountered before, there's no reason to think they would be able to solve it.
But like I say, from the Borg's point of view, and we know the Borg untrustworthy. From the Borg's point of view, this is a weapon that is destroying a major forming an enemy in their side that they've been unable to assimilate, which is the Federation.
Yeah, true.
I don't think they ever admit to
want to disable it.
I genuinely that's true.
From their point of view, no, we can't disable it means we can't disable it because we want it.
Well, I think it's more. I think it's more. I think it's a mixture of what I said and what you've said. So it's basically, why would we destroy it? We'll assimilate them. We'll have that weapon. We'll use it against the Federation. Then just assimilate their asses. It's always an assimilate Ponzi scheme of some description in there.
Yeah.
But as I said earlier, the Borg are untrustworthy.
Yeah, well,
that's true. I also love the fact that our beloved captain here also goes in going, it's like, phase them, go on, shoot, and it's like, haha, they're going to be easy to destroy. Tries to phase her a second time, and they've adapted. I love that when they show hubris amongst these guys because it's like it is such a heartfelt episode for how much they're a plucky young crew of rebels, people who are the outcasts and everything, and they've come together as a group. Beautiful, but to show them being a bit numpty every now and again is also quite nice.
Yeah, exactly. And I loved that. Sorry,
I was about to say this show, if you remember, before we saw any of it, was sold to us as a bunch of kids on a Starfleet vessel, but not within Starfleet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and we're getting to that they can't. And we're establishing why they can't be part of Starfleet here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I think the magic act of having what feels like the most Starfleet crew, perhaps of any Star Trek show, like certainly up there with any of them, unknown Starfleet. That's just something so beautiful.
Yeah,
It's like they live Starfleet. They don't have to have their pips to become Starfleet because it's in their hearts.
They want to be Starfleet.
Yeah.
And even if they're not part of Starfleet, like how the Asylum episode starts, they're doing a Starfleet mission. And they're not trying not to break the Prime Directive to save this.
Oh, can I also throw out that it's the opposite of the Badmiral. So the Badmiral is someone who's in Starfleet who is not Starfleet.
Yeah.
They're an arsehole. They don't live by any of the principles. So the good not Starfleet, I don't know what the term is, but they never had any commission and they're living by every principle of Starfleet. They believe in it.
And it's
beautiful.
Like you're right what you were saying. It's a Starfleet, a proper Starfleet crew, Starfleet show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So Star Trek.
It's lovely. You know, it even more so, I would say, actually, than probably as much as I loved Strange New Worlds. Somehow this kind of beats it at its own game in a way. Just like that, that's a lovely show. But it's like it's just the whole idea of how they're so hopeful through the fact that these guys are just considered nothing by the universe and they're everything.
There's an earnestness to it and I think that the fact that they are young people brings that across.
Yes. And I remember being the kind of like you know, something I mentioned, like it's a theme I repeat a lot on this show, but I think when you got bullied at school, I think that a lot of people who are Star Trek fans, I think, come from being the outcast, come from being a bit discarded by society for one reason or another. And then they see this show, which has got such hope and such kind of family and such, you know, as long as you're working towards good, you're all right by our book. You can be a member of our little club here.
Exactly.
And so they basically just made the crew us. You know, I can't say it
which is great.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good note to end on for this week. We'll be back, as I said, to cover the next episode of Prodigy in our normal time slot, but that'll be a week on Wednesday. In the meantime, as we said, we will try
continuing our
Dominion War.
Our Dominion War at the same time because we don't do tie-ins with Prodigy.
Yeah. Unless there's something really glaring and we have to do it. But yeah, Dominion.
We will be. I can't remember where we're up to in Dominion.
No, I can't either. Early season 4, mid-season 4. We've just done Homefront and Paradise Lost.
We're certainly getting towards the action now. It's really quite. It was hot.
Yeah.
As we were.
So we'll be back doing that. You may get a bonus episode dropped in the feed in the meantime, and if you do happen,
we may manage to record our live show next Saturday.
Yeah. So if you do manage to go to the Sci-Fi Weekender, come and join us for When Trek Goes Wrong. That's going to be at 3:30 in the spaceport. The spaceport. If you're not going to the Sci-Fi Weekend, then that'll have made sense to you, but don't worry about it. And you can reach us on Twitter at RetrekPod. You can email us retrekpod@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, anywhere you like. Just search for Retrek. Dr. Squee, what have you got going on?
Well, sort of. Seeing as we're going towards Sci-Fi Weekend, we're having a nice Star Trek weekend, or week ahead of us. On Tuesday, I will drop my interview with the I'm going to forget his name right now. There was a wonderful guy who did props for Star Trek who I spoke to for Sweet
Michael Marr.
Was
it Michael Marr?
He didn't show up actually.
Oh.
He got mixed up of time, so I'm going to go chat to him another time. It was the other Star Trek guy I spoke to, whose name is escaping me right now, which I know is
we'll dub it over. It'll go. Yeah.
Anyway, the lovely guy who I spoke to was very nice. He spoke about doing the visuals for Star Trek for all the series, basically.
Excellent.
Next Generation. So yeah, that'll be great. And the movies.
So check all of that out, and thanks for trekking with us this time. We will see you next time.
LLAP.
Maximum Warp Me.
ba-dum.